Imagine this. You're stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic, looking at your watch as another precious minute ticks away. Suddenly, a sleek, gull-winged vehicle ahead of you transforms, its wings unfolding as it lifts seamlessly off the road and accelerates into the open sky, vanishing from the snarled highway into a realm of limitless possibility. It's the quintessential sci-fi fantasy, flying cars ferrying us above urban chaos, delivering on promises that have dazzled generations. But what if that future isn't just a fantasy? What if it's on the verge of being real? Today, we're diving into the race to bring flying cars to the masses, the staggering challenges standing in the way, and whether these airborne vehicles are truly about to conquer our skies or crash before takeoff. The dream of flying cars is older than the jet age itself. Writers, inventors, and film directors have filled our collective imagination with visions of gridlocked skies and aerodynamic cars gliding between skyscrapers. From the Jetsons' whimsical commutes to Back to the Future's iconic DeLorean, the flying car is a symbol of technological utopia. But fiction is an easy sell. The real question is, why has this iconic innovation always seemed just beyond our grasp? Let's unpack where we actually stand on the road, or runway, towards commercially available flying cars. Despite decades of broken promises, the past few years have seen genuine breakthroughs. One of the most headline-grabbing examples is the Air car, developed by Slovakian company Klein Vision. In 2021, the Air car wasn't just a concept video or a prototype collecting dust. It was awarded an official certificate of airworthiness by the Slovak Transport Authority. This followed a rigorous test campaign, over 70 hours of validated flight testing and 200 takeoffs and landings. On June 28, 2021, Aircar made history by flying between two international airports in Slovakia, crossing the country from Nitra to Bratislava in just over half an hour. Suddenly, the flying car was no longer just a PowerPoint pipe dream. Klein Vision's latest model, the Aircar 2, is about to begin testing and could soon see commercial release. This isn't your backyard UAV, it's a dual-mode vehicle with wings and tail that fold away for road driving, then extend when it's time to take to the air. On land, it hits speeds of 200 kilometers per hour. In the air, it soars at up to 250 kilometers per hour, with a range of 1,000 kilometers, roughly 620 miles. The price tag? $800,000 to $1 million. Stefan Klein, the visionary behind the project, says, "The Aircar fulfills a lifelong dream to bring the freedom of flight into the hands of everyday people. With the launch of our production prototype, we are one step closer to transforming how the world moves, merging the road and the sky into a new dimension of personal mobility." But Klein Vision is far from alone in chasing this airborne grail. Companies like Terrafugia, Aeromobile, Joby Aviation, and Lilium are in a global race to define the next chapter in urban mobility. Their approaches vary dramatically. Some, like Aeromobile and Terrafugia, focus on roadable airplanes, cars that transform into small aircraft with retractable wings. Others, including Joby and Lilium, have bet everything on electric vertical takeoff and landing, or eVTOL vehicles, essentially flying taxis for the city of tomorrow. And the money is following the vision. JP Morgan estimates the potential market for eVTOL and flying cars could reach a jaw-dropping $1 trillion. If these forecasts prove even half accurate, we're looking at a tectonic shift in how people and goods move across and above our cities. But let's take a step back. Technology is only part of the picture. What about the real-world hurdles standing between us and a sky full of airborne commuters? First, there's the question of regulation, a topic only slightly less dry than the dust on aviation rulebooks, but orders of magnitude more important. The Federal Aviation Administration in the U.S., along with its global counterparts, is grappling with how to fit flying cars into existing frameworks created for conventional aviation. A spokesperson for the FAA recently stated their approach is now flexible, open-minded, and risk-based, words that signal change, but also uncertainty. In Europe, authorities are following closely, with EASA standards guiding pilot training, airworthiness, and operational protocols for these new vehicles. Next comes safety. Can you imagine thousands of flying vehicles zooming over a city, each one a potential missile if something goes wrong? Pat Anderson, an expert in advanced air mobility, emphasizes the difference between vehicles that can both drive and fly, and those designed exclusively for the air. The challenge is that dual-purpose vehicles must exceed the safety standards of both automobiles and aircraft. The margin for error is razor thin. And then there's noise. Elon Musk, never shy about voicing disruptive opinions, has repeatedly said that the real barrier isn't just building a flying car, but making one that's safe and quiet enough for cities to accept. You can't just dump a helicopter on every rooftop and call it a revolution. Noise is the limiter for urban air mobility, Musk asserted at a recent tech summit. It's a point that's hard to argue with. Nobody wants city skies full of droning engines drowning out everything below. Environmental factors also loom large. Electric propulsion and lightweight composite materials offer greener alternatives to traditional aviation, but scaling up fleets of flying cars could create new environmental challenges, more energy use, battery disposal, and manufacturing emissions. There's a risk that, in trying to leap over traffic jams, we end up leaping straight into new forms of pollution. Public trust, predictably, is another massive hurdle. Will people feel comfortable sharing the skies with hundreds, then thousands, of semi-autonomous, privately operated flying vehicles? Don Hillebrand, director of a major transport research lab, speculates. The first wave will likely be autonomous air taxis, not private flying cars. People need to see the systems work safely before they'll invest their lives and wallets. Let's not forget, even if you could buy an air car today, you'd need both a driver's license and a private pilot's license, not exactly a casual investment. At nearly $1 million a pop, this isn't a car for the masses. Flying cars in the 2020s look more like toys for billionaires or ultra-ambitious corporations, rather than a revolution for the average commuter. Yet the ambitions are sky-high. Major cities, especially in Asia, are racing to test these vehicles ahead of global events. The upcoming Osaka Expo aims to showcase flying cars as a centerpiece of Japan's technological prowess. But not all is going according to plan. A recent demonstration was abruptly canceled after a key component detached mid-test. For all the buzz, the technical risks are still very real. And then there's the incredibly complex challenge of urban integration. Picture a city with flying cars. Will we need new air traffic controllers, urban flight corridors, rooftop landing pads, or even entirely new laws governing who can take off and where? The infrastructure required is daunting and expensive. There's also the risk of unintended consequences. If flying cars are adopted mainly by the wealthy, could we see a new form of sky-based inequality, with affluent commuters bypassing ground-level problems while everyone else remains gridlocked below? Or will mass-market flying taxis, powered by AI and electric motors, eventually bring affordable air mobility to millions? Finally, as autonomous systems improve, are we headed toward a world where piloting skills become obsolete? Don Hillebrand again. Imagine summoning a flying taxi with your phone. No pilot, no steering wheel, just input your destination and go. That level of autonomy could change everything, but only if the public trusts the technology. Right now, the flying car revolution sits at a crossroads. On one side, there's dazzling innovation, immense investment, and a handful of working prototypes that hint at a transformed future. On the other, the barriers are as formidable as ever. Regulatory gridlock, public skepticism, safety, noise, cost, and the immense challenge of fitting a new kind of vehicle into the already tangled tapestry of urban life. So, will the sky really become our next superhighway? Or is the flying car fated to remain the world's most persistent technological mirage? The next chapters in this story depend not just on the speed of innovation, but on how and whether these challenges can actually be solved. In the next section, we'll immerse ourselves in the current strategies, race dynamics between global players, and the boldest visions for a world where flying cars are as common as city buses. But before we can imagine a skyline dotted with air cars, we must confront the biggest question of all. Who actually stands to win and lose from the dawn of a flying car age? So, with the biggest technical and regulatory hurdles laid out, and a handful of real prototypes now out of the lab and into the skies, what comes next? Let's switch gears and peer into the future, the possible, the probable, and the profound consequences of a world where flying cars are part of the landscape. If you think about the sheer scale of change at stake, it's dizzying. Imagine a typical Monday morning, just a decade from now. Instead of grinding through an endless traffic jam, you step into a sleek, streamlined vehicle in your driveway. With a few taps, its wings deploy, and you lift off, skipping over city blocks, rivers, lakes, traffic, all in a straight line to your office, hundreds of kilometers away. This is the dream that's driving billion-dollar bets from Silicon Valley to Shanghai. But the impact isn't limited to convenience or coolness. If flying cars succeed even partially, the entire geography of commuting, city planning, and even where we choose to live could change. The 30-mile commute, currently a soul-crushing ordeal in many cities, could become a 15-minute hop. Suburbs and exurbs could suddenly be as accessible as downtown, fueling a new wave of urban sprawl, or perhaps even allowing cities to breathe, shifting some pressure away from their cores. Aviation analysts estimate that a mature flying car network could offload 15 to 20% of surface traffic in megacities. According to a 2023 report by J.P. Morgan, the electric vertical takeoff and landing (eVTOL) market could hit $1 trillion before 2040. That's not a typo. And it won't just be luxury models. With scale, costs will drop. It's a gold rush, and right now, the world's tech titans and startups are elbowing for pole position. So, which companies and countries are really leading the race? The Slovakian aircar from Klein Vision remains the most headline-grabbing, with real piloted flights between cities. But several giants are close behind. In the United States, Joby Aviation and Archer are ramping up eVTOL tests, aiming for air taxi launches in select cities by 2025. Germany's Lilium plans to open its first commercial routes soon after, focusing on intercity travel with its jet-powered eVTOLs. Meanwhile, Terrafugia, originating from MIT and now under the Chinese automotive behemoth Geely, is quietly prototyping roadable airplanes. Aeromobile, also from Slovakia, is betting on luxury flying coupes and expects to begin deliveries within a few years. On the government side, Japan is racing ahead, aiming to showcase a functional flying car service at the 2025 Osaka Expo. The United Arab Emirates Dubai is already testing drone taxis. France and the UK are investing in vertiport infrastructure, those mini airports for flying cars, while China's EHang is making huge progress in automating aerial vehicles for cargo and passengers alike. But here's the secret. Despite all the futuristic renderings and investment hype, there is no clear winner, and the finish line keeps moving. Every company and country faces the same brutal checklist: government approval, public trust, safety records, cost, and, perhaps the biggest, noise and environmental footprint. The FAA and EASA have pledged an open-minded but uncompromising approach. Fail a safety audit, and you're grounded. This is where unexpected consequences come into play. Experts like Pat Anderson warn that the very unpredictability of urban skies could create new risks. A single mechanical failure or bad actor could undermine public faith for a generation, he says. Elon Musk echoes that, if flying cars are too noisy or prone to crashing, nobody is going to want them over their heads. So, let's play out a few possible scenarios. In the best-case future, a handful of tech leaders crack the code. Their vehicles are so safe, quiet, and affordable that cities roll out air corridors, dedicated takeoff pads, and digital air traffic controls. Urban air taxis pop up first in tech capitals: San Francisco, Shenzhen, Dubai, serving corporate travelers, medical workers, and eventually, the public. Regulatory bodies, thanks to steady test records, slowly expand approved areas and hours. The cost per trip drops, just as ride-sharing did, and emerging markets leapfrog directly to aerial mobility for hard-to-reach communities. Social benefit soars, congestion shrinks, and the world changes for the better. But there are darker possibilities, too. What if only the wealthy can ever afford a personal flying car? Early vehicles, like the aircar, will cost almost $1 million. Even air taxi rides may be priced beyond reach for most. This could deepen inequality, the rich literally rising above, while everyone else is stuck in traffic below. Or bureaucracy could strangle the industry at birth. If a few high-profile accidents occur, public fear and government overreach could pull the plug for a generation. There's also the nightmare of an unplanned aerial Wild West with too many vehicles, too few rules, and a climate backlash if emissions spike. Tech utopia could quickly flip to dystopia. And as Don Hillebrand of Argonne National Laboratory suggests, urban air mobility might become an exclusive extension of private jets. Without deliberate planning and regulatory equity, the new skyways may only serve the top fraction, at least for decades. So what does all this mean practically for you watching this video? It's time for some real talk. The flying car revolution will not be a switch flipped overnight. It will arrive in waves, first as spectacular demos and PR stunts, then as pilot programs for special cases like emergency response, remote logistics, and perhaps VIP air shuttle services. Over the next decade, the technology will trickle down, but costs and regulation will gatekeep access. If you're an investor or entrepreneur, this is a space to watch closely, but beware the hype. Yes, the market is massive, but the path is littered with both dead startups and regulatory quicksand. Savvy players are focusing on niches, regional cargo, medical flights, tourism, and business commuters in areas with receptive governments and favorable weather. If you want a piece of the action, focus on the ecosystem: vertiport infrastructure, new battery technologies, air traffic control software, even pilot training for hybrid licenses. The biggest winners might not make the flying cars themselves, but the parts and services they depend on. For ordinary commuters, the real lesson is to look for the ripple effects. These early flying car networks will force cities to rethink zoning, noise ordinances, and public transit integration. They'll also spotlight the digital divide: who has the apps and access, who lives near vertiports, who can afford the rides. If you're an urban planner, policymaker, or anyone passionate about transportation equity, now is the time to get involved and make your voice heard. The sky is being carved up, literally and figuratively, and the rules set today will shape who can use this new dimension of mobility tomorrow. And for all of us, stay curious, skeptical, but open-minded. Recall how, in the 1910s, airplanes were dismissed as dangerous toys, and in the 1980s, cell phones were luxury bricks. The shift can be slow, then suddenly all at once. At some point, your city's skyline might not just change horizontally, but vertically, with the steady, gentle stream of vehicles crisscrossing above. So, as we wrap up, let's answer that burning question. Who is leading this race, and who will ultimately benefit or be excluded from the flying car revolution? The reality is both surprising and poetic. No single company, country, or even continent can claim undisputed dominance. Klein Vision, Joby, Lilium, Aeromobile, Terrafugia, each has unique strengths, but all remain one accident, one regulation, or one disruptive technology away from losing their lead. The biggest winners, in the long run, will be those who build strong partnerships with regulators, with cities, with the public, and with each other. The world won't get one flying car system. Instead, we'll see a patchwork of regional solutions, each shaped by local laws, needs, and cultures. As for who benefits, at first it will be those with means, connections, and the right geography. But as costs fall and trust grows, as the infrastructure matures and society adapts, doors could open for more and more people. The trick will be ensuring that these doors are open intentionally, not accidentally slammed shut by early mistakes or short-sighted policy. Equity, safety, and the environment must be more than afterthoughts. They have to be designed in from day one. And here's that secret fact almost nobody talks about. The technologies that make flying cars possible, lightweight composites, AI flight controls, fast-charging batteries, are quietly transforming regular cars, drones, and even public transit right now. So even if you never sit behind the yoke of a flying car, you'll still feel the impact of this revolution every time you take a ride. So what do you think? Is the flying car finally ready to take off, or is this another futurist fantasy on a short runway? Let us know down in the comments. Which company would you trust to put you in the sky? Would you pay for a flying taxi in your city, or wait and see? Be sure to subscribe for more deep dives into tomorrow's technologies. Hit the bell